Hello and welcome to this week's Whiteboard Wednesday. My name is Chris Kirsch. I'm the Product Marketing Manager here at Rapid7 for Metasploit. Today I'd like to talk about Firewall Egress filtering and how you can set it up and why it's important. So a lot of companies have firewalls in place that filter traffic coming in, but they don't actually filter traffic going out of the network. And that's actually pretty important to stop some security issues. So for example, if you have malware on your network, then that malware will try to contact command and control servers on the internet. It might use IP spoofing for some attacks and so on. But if you have a firewall egress filter in place that stops it from contacting the CNC server, then, for example, it'll have a harder time getting data out of the organization and uploading it to an external server or getting new commands. So there are essentially two ways you can set up firewall egress filtering, and you can do that with your existing firewall normally. It's just a setup. It doesn't actually cost you any money to deploy this. So the first one is the more, let's say, security conscious, or the higher security premise to start out with, which is a deny all rule on the firewall egress. Of course, if you deny everything, nobody can access the internet. So you need to set up some rules of what people should be allowed to access the internet on. And here we recommend that you take a lot of care before you set this up, because you should be talking to all of the different application and business owners to figure out what are the applications that are reaching out to the internet, what ports are they using, and what's really required. If you just monitor the traffic and see what's going out, then you'll also see some of the unnecessary traffic. So you really need to take a closer look and be prepared before you start setting this up, because otherwise it could disrupt business practices. Now, the alternative is that you set up an allow all rule and then block certain ports specifically. So here, a very good document to get started with is the Firewall Egress FAQ from SANS, which gives you some guidelines on the minimum traffic you should filter on your network for the egress. So some of these, for example, are RPC, NetBIOS over IP, and SMB over IP, which typically don't need to go out of the network and can cause some security issues. There are also a bunch of others. I highly recommend you read that paper. If you want to figure out whether you're actually doing firewall egress testing on your network or not, there are essentially two ways. Either you can go to your firewall, have a look at the settings, but these might be kind of complex and difficult to figure out. And also, you only see what the firewall tells you what it's filtering, but you don't actually see what's filtered, and if there's maybe another way out of the network that you're not aware of. So here, what you can do is you can actually use the firewall egress testing meta module in Metasploit Pro, and there's a free trial available on rapid7.com that you can download. Hit one button, it'll test your firewall egress and tell you what ports are open and closed. All right, that's it for this week. Thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you next week.